This happened a few years ago. One night, I was playing an MMORPG as I often did. I used to be really big into this MMORPG until too many negative incidents made me quit. For example, I had a friend on this MMORPG named Ninja that I had known for a long time, and I lent him an expensive item of mine and he ended up scamming me and never giving it back. Then back in 2020 my account got hacked and I finally had enough. But anyway, this was before all of that. It was a quiet night in the summer of 2018 and I was trying to level up my agility in this game when suddenly my clicks became unresponsive. I heard a yell come from the other room. It was my older brother Trev, and I already knew what had happened. We had lost the internet. Annoyed, I walked over to my older brother's room. Trev was already on the phone sternly talking to a customer service representative for Spectrum Internet. Trev was explaining how he had called in the past and explicitly said that he wanted to be notified whenever Spectrum had a scheduled outage. Eventually, Trev hung up the phone in disgust. He said that Spectrum claimed that the internet connection should be fine and that there was nothing they could do. Trev did not believe them at all, but I suggested that maybe we should go outside and see if all of the wires on the house are intact. Trev said that we should have a snack before we bother going outside just in case the internet comes back on soon. Luckily, we had some leftover pizza that our dad made. Our dad makes extremely good pizza and owns his own yeast culture that he has had for years, which he uses to make the pizza dough. We sat down and had some pizza together. Honestly, I really enjoyed sitting down with my older brother and enjoying a snack. Sometimes we can feel a little distant from each other and I really cherish our relationship. He was growing up to be a good man and his haircut looked really sharp, probably because our mother is a hairstylist and helped him. We reminisced about our past, talking about various things like how Trev had Kirkpatrick for his AP English teacher in 2013, or about his college days where he had roommates that he didn't get along with and the struggles he went through to try to change roommates. From economics to computer science, he tried multiple college majors and he told me that everything in life always works itself out and that I would be fine. Anyway, we got a flashlight and went outside. It was very dark outside and we slowly walked to the side of the house where the wires connected. We heard an owl hoot in the distance and I remember wishing that my mother were here so that she could hear it because she loves owls. Suddenly, I heard a faint guttural screech from our backyard. I asked Trev if he'd heard that, but he said he hadn't. Trev has really small ear canals and he loses his hearing a bit unless he cleans them regularly, so I assumed it was just difficult for him to hear. The ground started rumbling followed by a second, much louder screech. Trev heard that one. We turned and saw what looked like a single giant eye gazing intently in our direction. Trev immediately told me to run and we bolted for the front door. We had locked the door when we went outside, so Trev had to fumble for his key to unlock it. He tried unlocking the door, but his fingers locked up from his history of carpal tunnel. This was the worst time for his carpal tunnel to act up and I quickly took the key from him and unlocked the door. We slammed it behind us. I was very scared and my fear got even worse when I saw that my older brother was on the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I told him it would be okay, but he started shaking his head. His voice quivering, he told me that he knew what that creature was. I asked him what it was, thinking that it might be a skinwalker or a wendigo. He told me it was no skinwalker. This was not even a wendigo. Trev knew for a fact that what we saw was a gigopler. Trev told me that he has had bad experiences with gigoplers in the past and that this was no joke. Even our father, who was in the military when he was younger, would have been terrified of this gigopler. We waited inside and nothing more ever happened. The gigopler never attempted to enter our home. I don't know why this happened or where that gigopler came from or where it went, but my brother assures me that we are incredibly lucky to be alive. One thing is for sure, I never ever want to see a gigopler ever again. Hey everyone, I've been a lurker on this subreddit for a while, but I never thought I'd have a story to share. After what happened to me last week, I can't keep it to myself anymore. I need to get it off my chest and maybe warn others who might be in the same situation. It was a typical Friday evening, and I was driving back home from a friend's house. The road stretched out ahead of me, surrounded by dense woods on either side. The sky was clear, and the moon cast eerie shadows through the trees. Everything seemed normal until I noticed something strange darting between the trees. At first, I brushed it off as an animal, maybe a deer or a coyote. But as I continued driving, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. That's when I saw it again, a figure standing at the edge of the road, partially hidden in the shadows. I slowed down, trying to get a better look. My heart pounded in my chest as I realized it wasn't an animal at all. It was a person, or something that looked like a person. Its eyes gleamed in the darkness, reflecting the headlights of my car. Instinct told me to keep driving, but curiosity got the better of me. I pulled over to the side of the road, my hands trembling on the steering wheel. The figure didn't move, just stood there watching me with an intensity that sent chills down my spine. I rolled down the window, calling out to the figure. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. There was no response, only silence as the figure continued to stare at me. That's when I noticed something was wrong. The figure's movements were unnatural, jerky, and disjointed. It shifted from foot to foot, its limbs twisting in ways that no human could. My stomach churned with unease as I realized what I was looking at: a skinwalker. I'd heard stories about them before, creatures from Navajo folklore that could take on the form of animals or humans. I never believed in them until that moment, when I came face to face with one in the dead of night. Fear gripped me, paralyzing my body as the skinwalker took a step forward. I slammed my foot on the gas pedal, my tires screeching as I peeled away from the side of the road. I didn't dare look back, too afraid of what I might see. I drove home in a daze, my mind reeling from the encounter. I didn't sleep that night, haunted by the memory of those glowing eyes staring out of the darkness. I don't know what the skinwalker wanted or why it chose to reveal itself to me, but I'm grateful to be alive. So, if you ever find yourself driving alone at night, be careful. You never know what might be lurking in the shadows, waiting to cross your path. And if you ever encounter a figure standing by the side of the road, just keep driving. Trust me, it's not worth sticking around to find out what it is. I've always been drawn to the remote wilderness. There's something about the solitude, the untouched beauty that calls to me. But there are things out there, things that don't belong, things that make your skin crawl. It was late September when I decided to take a solo camping trip deep into the woods of northern Arizona. The leaves were just beginning to turn, casting a golden hue over the landscape. I set up my tent near a tranquil stream, feeling completely at peace in the embrace of nature. As night fell, I sat by the crackling fire, lost in thought. That's when I heard a strange rustling in the bushes nearby. At first, I brushed it off as a raccoon or maybe a deer, but the noise grew louder, more deliberate. I reached for my flashlight, my heart pounding in my chest. With trembling hands, I scanned the darkness, my mind racing with possibilities. And then I saw a figure lurking in the shadows, tall and lean, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through the night. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. The figure moved closer, its movements unnaturally fluid. Panic surged through me as I realized what I was seeing: a skinwalker, a malevolent being from Navajo legend, known for its ability to shapeshift and mimic human voices. I wanted to run, to scream for help, but fear rooted me to the spot. The skinwalker drew nearer, its gaze locking with mine in a chilling stare. And then, with a guttural growl, it spoke, a voice that sounded like it belonged to a loved one, twisted and distorted beyond recognition. I stumbled backward, my mind reeling with terror. But as the creature advanced, a sudden surge of adrenaline flooded my veins. With every ounce of strength I could muster, I turned and fled into the night, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind me. I ran until my lungs burned and my legs threatened to give out beneath me. Finally, I collapsed, gasping for breath, tears streaming down my face. But when I looked back, there was nothing there, only the empty darkness of the forest. I stumbled back to my campsite, my mind spinning with disbelief. Had it been real, or just a trick of the imagination? But deep down, I knew the truth. I had encountered something ancient and malevolent, something that should never have existed outside of myth and legend. I packed up my belongings and left that place behind, haunted by the memory of that chilling encounter. And though I may never fully understand what I saw that night, one thing is certain: I will never venture into the wilderness alone again. So, to anyone reading this, take heed of my warning. There are things out there, lurking in the shadows, waiting to prey on the unsuspecting. And if you ever find yourself alone in the wilderness, pray that you never encounter the terror of a skinwalker's gaze. Let's not meet again.